Hi everybody, it's Rita Smith, #1 Food Fairy, and I actually have a chance today to show you how to remove fat from broth, how to skim the fat off of broth when you have had an opportunity to let the broth chill. So if you've got the time and the patience, or just the time, because some days, well, you make soup on Saturday, you stick it outside on the porch in the winter or in the fridge, overnight if it's summer. And if you can wait about 12 hours, sometimes it takes a little longer depending on how big the pot is and if the soup will be boiling hot when you put it in the fridge, and then it's going to take between 12 and 24 hours to actually get cold enough so that you can do this. Look at that. All that fat is gone. And that apparently is what happens inside your arteries. It hardens just like that. If you eat more fat than you should be eating, that was beef I just did. And here's chicken. So same process. Some broths are a little bit more solid than others. Okay, this one is not going to pop off easily. It's going to take a little bit of work to get that one off. So I'm going to use my skimmer. But you can see by what has risen as a solid to the top of your container. This is, by the way, chicken fat. This layer of chicken fat, that's called schmaltz. If you've ever heard the Yiddish saying about a Broadway play or a movie being schmaltzy, something with a thick layer of schmaltz on it, well, chicken fat is schmaltz. And back in the days when people needed all the calories they could get and weren't worried about eating extra calories, they were worried about not having too many calories, this was preserved and spread on bread just like butter. It's chicken fat that rises to the top of your soup, otherwise known as schmaltz. But today I don't think I know a single living human being who wants to eat more animal fat. Everybody wants to eat less. So this is the second and by far simplest way to skim the fat off of your soup. It's easy to do once you've had time to chill the soup. Not all days and weeks are going to allow you to have time to cook broth, or to cool broth, which is why it's good to have some of the other tools handy, like the bottom pouring measuring cup, the fat separating measuring cup, and I've even seen people do it with the turkey baster, go all the way to the bottom of the bowl and just take the broth from the bottom. But hands down, easiest way to remove fat is to chill your broth, let it turn solid, the fat rises to the top, and you can just pop it off. There you go, done. Good luck, have a great time cooking. Good morning, everybody. It's Rita Smith, the #1 Food Fairy, and today I am going to show you how to skim the fat off of cooked broth, whether it's chicken broth, turkey broth, or beef broth. You are going to want to chill the broth, which we did yesterday. I cooked it all day. I strained it. Actually used a pasta cooker because it fits together perfectly, and it's a good strainer, but you could use a mesh strainer or a colander, anything that you have to strain out all the vegetables, the carrot, celery, onions, whatever else is in there, bay leaf, all of the catchings from the pan, the bones, the skin, strained it into my pasta cooker, pulled out all the solids so that all I was left with was liquid. Okay, then I took the liquid filled pan. Because it's winter, I can stick it out on my front porch. In summer, I have to put it on the fridge. I wish it had actually, nobody would believe a Canadian would ever say this, but I wished it had been just a tiny bit colder last night, because when it's really cold, this fat that you can see, which has risen to the top, when it's really cold, that is actually solid, and you can just pop it off like the top layer of a Nanaimo bar or something. It just peels right off in a solid piece. It's not quite cold enough for that to happen today, but the pan is icy cold. And the fat, as you can see, has risen to the top of the pot of broth. So I'm going to take my skimmer, and I am going to neatly skim off. You can use a spatula to do this too. This is a bit better because nothing falls through the bottom. Neatly skim off the layer of fat that has risen to the top. And it's starting to become solid around the edges. I guess if I could have left it out there for a couple of more hours, it probably would have solidified. At that. You don't want that fat. Well, you don't want to eat that fat. You don't want to eat any more animal fat than you absolutely have to. If you're going to eat it, it should be in a steak, not in turkey soup. And it also affects the taste of the soup and the texture of the soup. It makes it kind of feel greasy in your mouth, and most people don't like that. So by chilling the soup, we'll get it to rise to the top. I'm going to have to waste a bit of broth doing it this way, but I don't actually have time to wait and get at it today because I'm teaching a class tonight. So I'm just going to get this done with now so I can get it packed up and put it in the freezer. Okay. Almost done. So by the time I'm finished with this process, what you'll have remaining is the clear liquid that came from the stock pot. It's called stock, not soup. It's soup after you add everything else to it. Right now it's just clear broth. And this can be used for any kind of soup or stew, any kind of sweet and sour recipe. I use turkey and chicken interchangeably. I find chicken kind of bland and turkey more flavorful. So anything that calls for chicken broth or turkey broth, gravies, sauces, lots of oriental sauces. I make pho with turkey. David really loves that. Lots of fresh vegetables and broth cooked with a special set of spices. If you go, actually, Epicurious has a great video on how to make pho. It's beef pho that they make, but pretty much everything applies. Fish sauce and star anise and various spices that you don't normally put in soup unless you're trying to make Vietnamese soup. So there. Okay, I'm going to call that about 98% fat-free. And I'm going to put it in plastic containers with lids and freeze it. And it might last for a month or it might last for a year. It could be in there for quite a good long time. That's the actual broth itself. And I usually leave a jar of it in the fridge so that while I'm making eggs or Chinese food, as stir frying, I want to deglaze the bottom of the pan, anything that I might need a liquid for. I like to use broth. It tastes better than water and it has some extra vitamins. When my neighbors are sick, I could just bring them over a jar of nothing but broth. And for people tended to respiratory infections in winter, they find that really comforting. And I also wanted to point out that there is a tool that you can use. This one is by OXO. Others make them, but I particularly like this one. If you don't have time to chill your broth or your drippings and then skim the fat off of the top, there's a product that you can buy, which actually, as you can see, it's a measuring cup, but it pours from the bottom. So that when you pour the hot or warm broth into this, you can skim it through the top to catch all the little bits of anything that might be in there. And then you tip it. The first tip you do, all the fat will rise to the top. You pour carefully, carefully, carefully. As you're pouring kind of at parallel to the surface, you will see when the fat comes prepared almost to enter the exit tube, the funnel tube, and then you stop and you throw it out, rinse it with warm water or hot water, and then fill it again. It's a bit of a slower process than doing it all at one pot, as you can just see how quick that is. But if you're making something right away, especially gravy or something where the drippings have just come out of the oven off of the stove, and you still want to get rid of as much fat as possible to improve the flavor, texture, and reduce the fat in the recipe, this is a quick option. This costs about $15. I bought 2 of them for Christmas presents last year, and I got them at the Corral shop for about 15 bucks each. If they're not on sale, they might be like 28 or 30, but if you're not in a rush, you can check the sales, and if you can find one on sale. It's still worth it to buy even at full price, but I've always managed to snag mine on sale. They're pretty cool, and I highly recommend having one of these as a backup if you don't have time to do this. So this broth is now finished. I'll spice it differently depending on what I'm going to use it for. I'll season it, add salt, various spices, but generally speaking, the base stock of the broth, the drippings, it's all here. It's all strained. It's clear and ready to either be used in a recipe or go into the freezer to use next time I'm making something special for special people. So have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Rita Smith signing off.